Welcome back to the Commerce Collective podcast, brought to you by Flywheel. You're listening to This Month Above the Fold, a monthly series on the Commerce Collective feed where Patrick Miller, co-founder of Flywheel, covers the most important e-commerce topics each month, and this is your November-December 2024 recap episode. My name is Emma Irwin. I am the host of this podcast, and this month we are covering Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and what stood out to us the most this past year. Let's get into it. Patrick, how are you?
I'm well. My kids woke up at 4 this morning, so I'm a little bleary-eyed, but so I'll apologize if I stumble over my words. But other than that, all is well.
4 o'clock is tough. I don't envy you for that one.
Whatever.
Okay, today we're going to cover Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and we'll do a bit of a full year recap now that it's December. We've got all that hindsight you could possibly need, of course. You get the gist. So, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Guess what? It was the biggest ever. Oh my gosh.
I've been doing this longer than you, so it's even more boring to me.
Yeah, almost like we said that last month, and that was going to be what happened. But of course, the most important question probably of this entire episode is, did you buy anything for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, T12, whatever you want to call it?
Turkey Infinity. So I bought an inflatable Santa Claus riding a dinosaur, which then promptly broke when it was like dumping rain here. So yeah, underwhelming. So I need to take it apart and see if I can reconnect all the wires to get it to work and not burn down my house. But yeah, other than that, but the kids loved it until it did stop working.
And where did you buy it from?
I bought it from Amazon.
I see. Is it like one of the yard decorations?
Oh yeah, except they move it inside. Up? Yeah, so we had they moved the turkey that we bought inside, and then they wanted the Santa Claus for outside, but then the Santa Claus got moved inside. Then yeah, whatever. So yeah.
I see. Very good. Whenever I see the houses that have all the big kind of blow up decorations for holidays, I'm like, they have to have kids. Like,
yeah,
the way that kids must look at those and think they're the coolest things ever.
They love them. They get mad like when we unplug them. But yeah, I refuse to do more than one per season. But now I have a collection starting in Halloween and going through Christmas, and we'll see what the new year brings.
Very good. All right. Talking about actual business, when we look at Black Friday, Cyber Monday, is there anything that stood out to you this year as like particularly interesting or even unexpected?
I mean, some more the same. I mean, I think the haul discounts were interesting. The fact that Amazon was doing 50% off there, and just in sort of trying to drive adoption there. That's probably the most interesting. I mean, sort of my orders, I was impressed by sort of delivery windows and sort of like, they sort of made promises of 3-4 days and then they pulled them in and they're like, oh no, we can get it to you quicker. But other than that, I mean, it's sort of like major brands on TikTok. I mean, I expected to, see a little bit more there, but I still think it's so early on that one. So yeah, so nothing crazy.
Yeah, I think this year I did actually buy things for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but I think I only made a purchase off of Gap, which shows that I'm like approaching my 30s, I feel like, where I'm like, yeah, Gap is the pinnacle of fashion. This is one of the shirts, and very good. But I'd love to dig a little bit more into Amazon land, and main things I kind of want to cover are a little bit more on haul, and then also the just level of personalization on site, because I thought that was really interesting, and maybe I didn't pay enough attention during Prime Big Deal days, but just the level of personalization that we saw within like the deal pages and the different tiles I was looking at what was recommended to me, and it was like just a meme of myself and all of the things that I've ever looked at in the past. And some of these products were everything was something I have definitely clicked on, but spanning years ago. Like there were things that were brought up from like me in college, and I was like, yep, nope, don't need that anymore. But it was funny to watch yourself in the way that Amazon looks at you. But that got me thinking about how you do a lead-in when so many of the products are shown or things you have clicked on in the past. And when you're a brand, how do you prioritize between trying to capture new to brand shoppers, but not knowing if the products are actually going to show in the deal pages versus building up that kind of reminding of your brand and that loyalty to come back, etc. Any additional thoughts on there? Did personalization seem interesting to you?
Well, I guess if we take a step back, the most sort of atomic elements of Amazon are the CID, so you, the person, and the ASIN. And so it's sort of like, so what are sort of, and these are both sort of annuities in the sense that, both the CID and the ASIN gather information over time. And that then drives, sort of both the personalization that's relative to you, but also then, how do you then drive discoverability? And so, one of the things I expect to see sort of more and more, especially with Rufus, is thinking through sort of the context of the shopping trip and what are the widgets to surface to the customer with whatever the job is. And this is a challenge when you have, 500 million SKUs. And so what's the right context to surface a SKU to a customer, within that trip that both helps the customer complete the job, but also discover, additional selection. And so I would expect to see sort of more and more of the personalization and the sort of the widgets throughout there. And so that it becomes every trip is personalized and it's customized to you.
I'm kind of curious in this, thinking about showing more of the selection to people, but also things they've looked at in the past. I'm curious if you had to take an educated guess, like what % of shoppers throughout a deal period, this time T5 specifically, like, do you think look for deals purely through navigating the homepage and the deal pages and all of the different tiles versus kind of going through the standard mechanism of search? And maybe that's like a crossing things off the wish list behavior. But this is something I've always been kind of curious about what you actually think.
So we can see it within AMC. And so most frequently, it's like if you know what you want to give to somebody or to yourself, you search, you click, you buy, you bounce. But more frequently, people go in with the intent. And you see this with like queries around, like, especially during, it's actually even more so birthdays, because people search for like toys for 4-year-old girl or toys for, 6-year-old boy, et cetera. And it's like, so I got a job to do. I need to get a gift, but I don't know what to get them. And so I have a broad query like that. But on sort of tentpole events where it is so deal driven, it's much more browse based. And so you go in, you go to the, the deals page, you might filter a little bit. And then, you see an ASIN that you like. And what you likely do is if you're on your desktop, you right click it, you open up in a new tab. And then you say, man, I don't know if this is really a good deal or not. And then you search. And you search and then you see the ASIN, within sponsored products or ranked organically. And then you oftentimes click on that and then you bounce. And so the trap that people fall into is, well, because it was a last touch attribution, they think that sponsored products drove the sale. And I love sponsored products, but sponsored products did not drive that sale unless the ASIN doesn't rank on page 1. And so people are attributing too much to, sort of search at the end and not enough to the deal and being featured, in that discoverability path on the deals page.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay. I'm kind of curious. You already mentioned this about Amazon Haul and the 50% site-wide discount being interesting. But looking at that, when I saw it, I was like, dang, that's the level of discounting. Like when you were a kid and you'd go to Toys R Us and they're like, everything's 50% off. And you scream at your mom to buy you toys. But anyways, those were usually much higher ticket items than the things you find on Haul. Like you're not going from $5 to $2.50. But I'm curious, in the greater landscape of low-cost marketplaces, and especially like everything tying back to China, as I read the marketplace Pulse year in review. And there was a quote in there that I really liked where China is no longer the world's manufacturer, the world is China's marketplace. I'm kind of curious. Further, broader thoughts in terms of just like what Amazon's moves during this particular temple event, like how they relate to Temu and Shein and the broader dynamic.
My test is always like, all right, I'm going to go like look for like dinosaur t-shirts and like sweaters for myself. And so I was like, all right, go to Haul, and then, I got
he's got the things.
Oh, yeah, no, I shopped
Incredible.
it. So, all right, so number one, we got a really good Merry Christmas cat pillow. So, which like there's never been a cardinal that's like happy to be near a cat, but like, whatever.
No,
it's they're happy. And then I was like, okay, well, now I'm gonna go, buy a sweater, and so it got kind of ugly. I typed in wool sweater. It's really far from that, but it's like this brand, it's like on PDP, there isn't a brand, right? But then it's called Paul Jones, and I'm just like, all right, who's Paul, Jones, tagline wardrobe for gentlemen. I'm like, oh, that's me. I'm a gentleman. And then, but then I look at it and I'm like, okay. And it's got like this like ASIN sticker, like an XOO. But then like I looked from the other side and I'm like, oh no, hold on, there's another sticker on the other side, which is like an old ASIN sticker. So then I like dug around and I'm like, Paul Jones is like a brand on Amazon and they're everywhere. And so it's like, it's the same damn selection. And so it's sort of like this interesting thing. And oh, by the way, the ASP was the same on Haul and Amazon. So that's a whole nother thing. And so I look at it and I'm like, okay, so it's on Amazon as Paul Jones, the brand, as they aspire to be the next Anchor or whatever. And then, but then on, on Haul, there is no brand, but it's the same selection. and it was actually even the same price. So I think it's very early, within for Hall, like the selection is pretty limited at this point. They're going to drive more and more traffic, see what happens. But then, within the context of de minimis provision, what happens, in general, tariffs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If Temu didn't exist, Amazon would not have launched this product. But Temu does exist. So they then launched this product. They don't want to lose share to whatever the low ASP bargain hunters who don't care about shipping speed. So to me, it's sort of like, okay, what happens from a regulatory perspective going forward? And then how does that then affect, the overall experience and how much effort they put into it?
I see. All right. Have you seen anything in terms of AMC data?
The one thing I have seen is like we built in, so you now can do AMC audiences into sponsored ads. And so we've had a lot of colleagues and we sort of built a quick app that allows people to then play with the various audiences and then, and then run them. And the thing that I found most interesting so far is like, because the audiences are customer first. And so we're then seeing much higher click-through rates. And so even when people are going for new to brand, because they're, sort of the strings are so targeted, customers like it and they're clicking on it, which is then driving down CPCs. And so what we're seeing is sort of like just great responses so far. And as I look forward, I'm sort of like, I don't think the construct long term is customer search query. I think the construct is various CIDs and how do you sort of help drive discoverability, for those customers. And then as they do that, I be agnostic as to whether it's streaming television or sponsored products. It all helps that customer find what they're looking for and drive that discoverability.
Interesting. I like it. All right. Because we can't only talk about Amazon. Amazon's not the only guy that exists out there. Did any other retailer strategies or results or anything like that kind of catch your eyes from this Black Friday, Cyber Monday?
To me, it's just like increasingly it's a 3-horse race. And so it's Costco, it's Amazon, and it's Walmart. And, and each are so different, right around, I got new tires for my car, Honda Ridgeline, best car ever invented. It's an El Camino, mated with a minivan. And so, I went to Costco to get tires. And so just, it's time to kill. I ate one of the hot dogs. Love of God. That thing is a gut bomb, but make that mistake once. And, but just like the merchant, like it's just like such a great experience and it's clean. Like there's so much merchandise. And then I like walk all the CPG aisles and I see all the SKUs they won't give us. And I'm like, but it's a great deal. And so absolutely packed. And so I expect Costco and Walmart, to continue to do, exceptionally well. I think Walmart's partnership with Instacart is really smart. It's pulling in, more affluent customers, as they, especially are shopping CPG. And then, so yeah. So I think those, my guess is, as we look back, they're going to be the two winners at Amazon. Everybody keeps taking share. They're beating up on everybody else. And it's, it's a little bit same story that's been for the last, 2 years or so.
That makes sense. The only thing my only call out here that I kind of noticed was all of these retailers, and we don't have Costco's down in Arkansas, so it didn't cross my mind to go look at a Costco. But in terms of like Amazon, Walmart, Target, there was this on all of them. I think it's something kind of new where there was like a little button that said new deals here. And obviously, I think that's just an algorithm that's just picking different deals every day to show customers. They're not necessarily, they're new on site because they weren't on the button yesterday, etc. But I was kind of thinking about like what that means in the broader scheme of things. Like I wonder if deal events will ever actually shift to where retailers are pushing brands to have certain products on discounts for a much shorter amount of time as some kind of way to create urgency. I know Amazon does lightning deals, and I'm sure Walmart has a similar mechanism and beyond. But like, how do you prepare for that? And how do you, back to going into like a lead up strategy, how do you actually prepare for investing all this money and getting people exposed to your products or reminding them about them? And then they only get like 12 hours to make the purchase. And does that change how you do your ad copy? Does it change all of that kind of things? But I wonder if maybe someday it'll be, you don't need to put your product on discount for 12 days. It's just one big day. And that's the new thing because everyone got tired.
Because it's a second order effect of the size of a cell phone screen. And so if you think about your field of vision, if you go into a physical store, you can look all around and see all the different selection and the rollbacks and the deals. You can't see that on a little cell phone screen. And so they need to give you a reason to come back. And so they want to keep that engagement. And then they have to keep, it's almost a form of sort of dynamic merchandising that you are opening up the app, you're looking at the selection, you're trying to find the deal. You don't find anything or you do, but then you come back the next day. So it's how do you create, sort of visiting that as becoming, habitual. And in a sense, it's sort of like the apps all want a bit of dwell time and so that you can then find products. And so the more that they can send you to open it up, the better you'll find stuff and then buy it.
It makes me think about back to my Gap purchase, which I put everything in the cart on Black Friday because I do believe they started 50% off site wide on Black Friday. And then I was like, all right, I know it's going to last until Monday night. So I'm not going to make this purchase until Monday night. And then I went back to the site on Monday night and they were like, you have 23 hours and 59 minutes left. And I was like, oh yeah. And so then I waited until Tuesday. And it's like, if you put that urgency on me, I will eventually make the purchase. But
Exactly.
unless you do, I'm waiting until the very last minute.
Yeah, but some of them are so insincere. Like I was doing Christmas cards and using Minted, which is actually like a nice site. But then it was like giving like this 20% out discount. And then it starts emailing me every day of like, it's going to end. And then you're like, the next day it's like 20% off. And I'm like, come on, folks. Like, I'm going to buy it, but like, give me a minute to upload this stupid photos or whatever.
I feel you. Yeah. It's like, say it like you mean it. Dang it. Okay. I think that was about 19 minutes of Black Friday, Cyber Monday content. So I think we can move into.
I'll also be happy.
Yeah. The people. We've pleased the people. We're going to move into doing a year-end recap, but because we've been covering the entire year as months and months go by, we're going to do a rapid fire style kind of question and answer, if that sounds good.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. I am curious, where did you make the most purchases last year?
Unit basis, Instacart, dollar basis, Amazon.
In terms of shopping and user experience, what retailers climbed in your personal ranks and which ones fell?
So I think climb Apple Pay, more and more integrated at an OS level, which then increases conversion rate, so by extension Shopify. So just a great experience. On the falling, quality of Whole Foods just isn't what it used to be. So, and I bounce back and forth between, shopping on, Whole Foods or Fresh or Instacart, but like Instacart's just like, they do a great job. So I keep coming back to them. And I really like Wegmans.
Fair enough. Do you know what would be, in my opinion, an incredible game changer? It would be if Walmart would just let you pay with Apple Pay in the store. I know that they won't, but God, I just wish.
Yeah, it's like going to Costco and you're not, whatever, they only let you use Visa or MasterCard. So yeah.
I can use Apple Pay everywhere except for there.
Yeah. When you're Fortune 1, you get to write the rules.
Oh, whatever. That would be where most of my money went this past year is Walmart, because what other choices do I have down here?
Yep.
And food, need that to survive.
They have great Walmarts down there.
Oh yeah, it's not a terrible experience. It's actually enjoyable. I'd even argue like the Walmarts down here are often a better experience than the Target, which is crazy. So, all right, that was a diversion from rapid fire. Anyways, what was your favorite product or tool launch from a retailer this year?
AMC audiences for sponsored ads. It's one that we've been asking for years. Thrilled with the rollout so far and thrilled with all the colleagues that are just testing, learning, and playing around.
Very good. All right. What was your favorite flywheel, innovation, or product or case study this past year?
I liked auto CID and CSQ classification and then tied to funnel vision and then the funnel propagation and sort of how customers are moving around the funnel and then tying that then back to ROE to see, how much value each of those customers are creating for a brand over time.
I'm going to have you simplify that answer because you even lost me a bit in some of your acronyms.
So it's looking at like how many customers are in each stage of the funnel, how quickly are they moving down or across the funnel, and then how much value are they creating for that brand over time. And then we're going to have an announcement at CES, to sort of build on that, which I think will be a really interesting one.
Any non-holding company related acquisitions stand out to you more than others this year?
So I would actually say the inverse. It's the lack of M&A, especially for those that raise money at the height of valuation. And so you have a lot of companies that out there that are engaged with bankers or looking around, but they, sort of have a challenge in the sense that they raise at the peak. And so have they then grown into that valuation? Have they not? If not, who acquires them? Sort of where do they end up at what valuation? So sort of the lack of it is actually, I think, the more interesting part. But I would expect, this year that there'll be a lot of M&A activity.
Got it. Okay. Can you pinpoint a single most critical thing that happened last year to shape the world of commerce?
We joined Omnicom.
Whoa.
Well, it's really like now it's like with like IPG and like you keep like, and you read all the articles and they mention Flywheel all the time. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And, and so, but like, to me, it's fascinating and just really, just appreciate, John and team believing in us. And how do we connect, what happens at, sort of the top of the funnel within STV and what Omnicom is so good at, with, SKUs and ASINs. So that's as well as sort of just, helping them understand that, sort of where is this an ads business? Where is this a retail business? And how do you pull them together? So I think it's sort of fun from just a transformation perspective across all the various retailers.
For sure. It's been a ride and it's been an interesting experience, but probably for the better. Okay. Any announcements that you really didn't see coming this year?
Cookie living again. I mean, I was like, oh my God, like kill it. Yeah. I mean, I should have known that. I should have known that they were like after, but I was like, I'm like, of course they're going to finally kill it. Nope. So yeah, that surprised me.
Maybe we'll try again next year. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Did you get anything just incredibly wrong last year?
I thought for sure Kroger and Albertsons would go through. And so it's an interesting pushback, from the Fed saying, okay, well, this would then decrease competition, but they're looking at it at a micro, at a zip code level. And so they're saying, hey, if there's an Albertson and a Kroger, and then one, closes, even if they sell to whatever distributor, the other store, then that's going to be a decrease in competition and potentially an increase in price for the customer. And that might be true at a zip code level, but at a macro level, this is going to be really tough for both, Kroger and Albertsons to compete with a Walmart or an Amazon, just because of the amount of capital they have to spend to build out, sort of the various ad products. So yeah, I got that one wrong. I'm surprised they did it, but we'll see what happens. All
right. Last one for you. What was something that made you hopeful for the future of commerce?
I like all the work our colleagues did around like the made for advertising sites, over the last year, and just seeing that if you have a closed loop, you don't have to estimate, where the garbage is. You can figure it out, and then you can automate it, and you can then customize it, to every brand. And so to me, it's allowing e-com to help sort of move further up the funnel to provide, a unique value that you can't get probabilistically, and then, and drive that value and just cut out, some of the garbage, sites that are out there.
Very good. I think that sums it up pretty well. And I think that can wrap us up for our 2024 Above the Folds.
All right.
What is it? 11 of them, I think this will technically be. And then I guess we'll be back in January. But last actual question for you. Any fun holiday plans with the family or just hanging out?
So my mom was one of 9, and we hosted all of them this past weekend. So it was like 40 some people. I'm haggard now. So on the other side of that, I'm no additional plans after that one.
No more plans.
No more plans. I'm like, I'm done. I love you all. Go away.
Yes. Got that like once a year.
Yeah. Once a year. Big hurrah. How about you?
I will go home to visit my parents in New York, but I am driving like a crazy person so that my dogs can come. And that is like 21 hours of driving. So I take off on Saturday.
That's a lot of driving.
Yep. And that's it for this month's e-commerce news and for our episodes this entire year. We will be back better than ever in January with our now annual predictions episode that you absolutely will not want to miss. I'm Emma Irwin. Happy holidays. See you next time.